Hello there, everyone. I'm Gaylen Morse, and welcome to Journey to Recovery. We appreciate you listening. Today we're talking about keeping your cool under pressure. People with co-occurring mental health and substance abuse problems are not always the most patient people. In today's episode, we'll discuss specific strategies to become less reactive, learn how to let things go more easily, and be less frustrated in our recovery journey. Our host is Dr. Hal Baumchen, a licensed clinical psychologist and licensed alcohol and drug counselor. He's an author, speaker, and clinician with over 30 years of counseling experience. I'm here today with Tim Bode, Operations Director at Northland Counseling Services, and with Dr. Hal Baumchen, our host at Journey to Recovery.
Morning, Gaylen.
Hey, Gaylen. Tim, how are you doing today?
Morning,
Good.
guys.
Today, we're talking about losing your cool, being frustrated, but also about maintaining your cool under pressure.
It's hard to maintain your cool when things are going wrong all around you and, you know, your car door won't shut all the way and you get the seatbelt caught in it and it's slippery outside. Just coming up here, we have this thing going on in Minnesota currently where winter will not die. And it's frustrating and it creates problems for people. Do you find technical things frustrating or other parts of life, Gaylen?
No, not more than 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Technical
we were
stuff
laughing
is-
about it before we turned the cameras on and started talking here on the air, but we were talking about how your computer and some of the machinery in your office was glitching and you're trying to get help and can't figure it out. And it's frustrating, I'm sure.
Yeah, I get frustrated when my computer doesn't operate as fast as I want to operate. So I'm, thinking about something or want to do something, and then I'm waiting, and it's spinning. And
See, I blame the code writers for that. The faster they make the computers, the more code they write, which slows the computer back down again to pre-speed up speed. Yeah.
And we talked about service providers that are frustrating. We're not getting the service we think we want, the way we want it when we want it, and that can really be frustrating for us and probably for everybody.
Yeah.
Do some people, or are some people a little more quick to display their irritation and live their lives almost constantly upset?
Yeah, I think so. Some people are trigger happy and more easily frustrated. And I think one of the places that I see that is somebody with a co-occurring disorder. Like if you are using substances, that creates consequences in your life. And that can add to irritability and frustration and things going wrong and you're mad about it. And also with mental health problems. So if you're depressed, I think you just don't have the tolerance. You already feel hopeless and kind of helpless. You're irritable and have that low frustration tolerance just by being depressed. Anxious people also, so worried, so uptight, so stressed that I think they're snapping and upset about things because they're apprehensive and worried about the future. But boy, they can sure be irritated and frustrated pretty easily.
Do you have any pet peeves? Those little personal irritations that bother you more than they might bother someone else?
I'd like to think I didn't have any, but I do. One of them that comes to mind is being tailgated. I get nervous, I think, is what happens, or fearful. And I'm checking the rearview mirror when somebody is creeping up on my space, and I'm looking in their rearview mirror maybe 10 or 20 times a minute, way more, maybe even more than that. Once a second, I'm glancing at the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
How about you?
I also like to think that I don't
Have any,
but I'm sure I do. Actually, one of mine is people who state their opinion as fact, because I think it, therefore it is true. And when I know that that's not true, then that's one of my
irritation. Yeah. Do you try to give them the facts? Like, hey, have you ever looked at it this way? Or I've heard something different?
It depends on the person.
Sure.
If it's somebody that I know and I
Yeah.
know that won't be effective, then I just let it go.
I think he's probably talking about us. What do you think?
No,
I'm pretty sure of that, yes.
although I may be talking about people you know.
Well, I'm someone you know, so okay.
Do you have a
I
pet
qualify
peeve?
twice. One of mine is you go into a store and you say, I'm looking for one of these. Do you have these? And the clerk says, I don't know. I don't think so. I'm sorry. Either you do or you don't. And if you don't know, find out. So
Yeah.
yes, obviously you can tell by my reaction that really
That's
is a
frustrating.
frustration.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know, but I'll check on it for you, or I'll find somebody who will know.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Being frustrated is a commonly occurring fact of life, but somebody with a substance use disorder has maybe unique frustrations. Probably they have a very low tolerance for things that don't go their way. And because of the substance use, more negative consequences occur. So, do you have anything where you were super frustrated in your life, something that went wrong, and you just were more upset than you wish you would have been?
Do we really need to go there? Yeah, I've had that happen several times. I've gotten much better at not letting it happen anymore. But yeah, there have been a few instances of that specific. And it almost always, I hate to think this way because I live on my computers, but
Oh, it's
almost
technical
all of
stuff,
those
huh?
events are computer related because I'm operating over my head.
Yeah.
And I don't know
And
how
I
to
need it-
solve problems I can create.
I need it to go perfectly, otherwise I'm out of my league.
Yep.
But it never goes perfectly, and so I'm always out of my league. Yeah.
Basically, that's it.
I can get frustrated when I am supposed to know something like driving directions, and then I don't know where I'm going, and I'm kind of lost, and I'll get irritated and upset about it. One of the stories that I wanted to tell was not my story, but somebody who went to a boat launch who knew how to drive. This woman knew how to drive and back a boat, and she watched somebody who she would say was, inept and incompetent and stupid, trying to back a boat and couldn't get it going in the right direction and didn't get it in the water deep enough. And she was so frustrated and upset. Just when she was telling the story, she got pretty irritated and upset. Just wanted to kill those people all around her because they were blocking her goal and couldn't do something right. And it just made me think, that's how people get when they're frustrated. They become irrational almost in their anger.
I think we all experience frustration when we face what seem to us like unnecessary complications or things that block our goal.
I think that's what was happening with that woman at the boat launch. She's waiting her turn for this incompetent person in front of her. Get it in the water already.
Right. Yeah. Right. Everybody gets frustrated at some point, right?
That's
I think
right.
Is what we're talking about here.
And in overwhelming circumstances, a person might get flooded with emotion. So frustration, confusion, anxiety, and despair, all those kind of overwhelm the person, just become overpowering.
So how does this affect substance abuse?
Well, I'm glad you keep bringing us back to this because, on this program, we try to talk about mental health and substance use disorders at the same time. So this kind of thing can be distressing for our clients. And when they get frustrated, when they get irritated and upset, it almost cues them or tempts them to drink or use again. So that's why we want to talk about it, because if you could manage yourself, manage your mood a little bit better, get a little more stable, we could eliminate or reduce that temptation and vulnerability to relapse. So that's the big deal here.
Tell us some more about being flooded with emotion.
Yeah. Do you remember, I know you remember this, Gaylen, for sure. I didn't mean that to be an age comment. Gaylen for sure will remember this because he's a car guy.
Gaylen's old.
The carbureted cars.
Yes.
When you would go out and it was cold and try to start it and maybe pump the foot feed, my dad would call it, the
Accelerator.
yeah. And then end up flooding the car. So now you got too much gas in the carburetor. And so when we get irritated, upset, and frustrated, we get flooded with emotion. Like the car, it wouldn't start. Then you'd have to let it sit for a while, the old man would say, like, let it sit for a while. You try it in 20 minutes. And then it would actually start. I think we can get like that emotionally, too. We're so overwhelmed and frustrated and upset. You can't think clearly. You're not being logical or rational. You're too much tone, too much attitude, too much volume going on. And so if you could just calm down. When you get flooded, it's hard to be rational.
So count to 10 actually means something.
Yeah, or leave the room, take a time out. And frustrated people often want others to take a time out. But no, maybe you should take the time out.
Yeah, right. So just like the car, if you get flooded with emotion, you need to wait for that to dissipate.
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah. My wife tells a story about family friends of hers, and they were painting in a new house with, of course, new flooring and new carpet. And while the man was getting some paint out of the paint can, he spilled a little bit, some drops of paint on the carpeting. He was so upset with himself and so frustrated, he kind of went into a little rant and rave and ended up kicking over the paint can onto the carpet. And
that would make a good comedy bit.
yeah.
If you're not the one kicking the paint can.
Right. And so now he was super frustrated, and they're trying to wipe up the paint can with some cloth diapers back in the day. And that's a disaster too, I'm sure. So sometimes when you get frustrated and you become overreactive, you end up making matters worse for yourself. And you have consequences for something like that.
Yeah, we have some friends who were trying to put up their Christmas tree, and were having a hard time getting it straight. And my friend at some point actually threw the tree across the room because he was so frustrated with it. Which didn't really help the situation.
Right.
No.
Right.
Those kind of reactions seldom do. That's the whole point.
Right.
Here, right?
Slamming a door and breaking something because you slammed it so hard. Or one of the things that comes up in conversation at the residential treatment center where I work with co-occurring disorder guys is sometimes they have broken their hand because they punched something. And there are a lot of reasons why I wouldn't punch a wall. One of them has to do with my character and, trying to maintain some self-control. But I could look with a stud finder for a stud all day long and not find it. But if I punched the wall, I'm sure I would find it. So I won't do that. But so there are consequences to losing your cool.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I just was going to say I've only punched one wall in my entire life, and I missed stuff. So after it was all over, I went, boy, I was really fortunate I did not hit the stud. That brings me to this. Would you say that selfishness plays a role in frustration?
Yeah, you've heard me talk about being angry before, so I'm not getting what I want the way I want it when I want it. Now I'm ticked. And so I think I want my way has to do with that irritability, frustration, and that sort of thing. So one of the things that makes me frustrated sometimes is when people don't obey traffic rules and they don't do the right thing. So like they're turning, but they didn't put their signal on. Or, the guys in the treatment center, they want fast service. They want the best bed. They want great food. They want the counselor of their choice. I want to work with you, but I don't want to work with him. Or don't want to work with you, Hal. They want it their way. So, maybe you find yourself annoyed by small things too, like the guy who won't use his signal.
Or as I said earlier, the clerk that won't find anything or doesn't know where anything is in the store.
Right.
As I see people who are frustrated and overreact, I think that they often feel justified in their overreaction, right?
Things just shouldn't be this way. Why are you so stupid? Why did it go this way? Why can't you just agree with me? Why can't the technical stuff just work like it's designed to?
Yeah. I used to work with a lady who would get frustrated quite easily sometimes. And there was one particular time when we were working on a mailing for an event that was coming up. And so we prepared that and we got it sent out. And we weren't getting responses back as quickly as she thought. So she got very upset. She accused the mailing company of not actually sending it out. She told us that we should forget about spending time with our families until we figured out what was going on. She got really, really upset, and essentially it just was taking longer than she wanted for those invitations to get out, and they got out eventually. But she really,
no fault of your team. And
right. No, everything was happening as it should, just not as quickly as she wanted.
Well, that's the essence or the foundational piece of frustration, like Gaylen said, that selfishness, or I'm not getting it fast enough, I'm not getting my way. An addiction to alcohol and drugs heightens your sensitivity and your reactivity. So this reactivity is made worse when you're withdrawing from a substance. Yet developing high frustration tolerance is vital to successful recovery. Our clients are often overreactive and inaccurate in their statements.
Overreactive and inaccurate.
Yeah, both of those at the same time. The way I see it, I use this little analogy. The size of the dog poop in the yard does not match the size of the dog you just shot. No, shooting a dog is... Every time shooting a dog is way overreactive. But not only that, not only did you shoot the dog, you shot the wrong dog. It's just terrible.
I hate it when that happens.
Yes.
Keep in mind that the way out of this overreaction frustration cycle is actually to try to maintain better control. Where it all goes all wrong for people is they try to control other people, other situations, and other circumstances, which actually lie outside of their ability to control, and they don't take enough time trying to control themselves. That's where we want to focus. We want to remind you, control yourself, watch your own mood, attitude, and your own disposition.
Let's. We have a list here of some common beliefs that drive frustration. So we're going to go through that.
Well, my time is more important.
No, wait, not than my time. My time is more important. Another one is I should not be frustrated. I should just not be frustrated. I shouldn't have to be frustrated.
Right.
I often hit my desk and say to my computer, "You're supposed to be working right now," or "I should never be this inconvenienced."
So I have an inconvenience story. I was in a store and I found this little plaque that I like. It had a verse on it, "Wisdom brings patience," and then it gave the scriptural reference out of Proverbs. And I was so happy, $4.99. So I get in line at Goodwill in the community where I live, and waiting in line, there's a woman in front of me who has $100 to spend and about 70 articles of clothing for $1.99 and a coupon that she has. And so she doesn't have enough money to get them all. So she's sorting at the register in front of me. And I'm waiting in line, and she's like, "Well, I really like the pink one, but I already have a blue one like that, so I'm not sure which one I'm going to..." And back and forth, and the clerk can see that I'm waiting for this to get finished, and she keeps mouthing the words, "I'm so sorry, I'm really sorry." And I hold up my little plaque, like wisdom brings patience. I'm working on patience. I want to break it and walk out of so I'm going to stay there. But, that inconvenience thing can often drive frustration.
Yeah. Another common belief, I think, is that people should always be courteous to me, treat me well. Right?
Yeah, or you should always get your way.
Right.
I can't stand wasting time like this. How's that?
Yeah.
Or I deserve everyone's respect.
Right. And you don't get it. You don't get it, and you're going to be frustrated by it.
Yeah, or don't ever treat me like that again.
Like you can control that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You will not speak to me like that. Like, try to stop me.
Yeah. Or another one is, this only happens to me, right? This never happens to anyone else, only to me.
That kind of intensifies your ability to react wrongly to the situation by believing this isn't, not for me.
This is absolutely terrible or horrific.
Oh, I should, again, as we said earlier, I should get what I want.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to wait for that.
Or in a treatment center, I deserve better treatment than this, or the best bed and the best food and the best treatment. And and then I want to call my girlfriend every day, and so I'm gonna be needing my phone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or I should never be deprived of my phone or other things.
Now, all of those things, they all roll together. Like, again, I'm not getting what I want, and now I'm frustrated and irritated, and we're mad because the world won't deliver it the way we want, or other people won't. And again, rather than try to get them to be different, let's try to make ourselves different. So I'm going to be more patient, more kind, more accepting. I'm going to have more frustration tolerance. Here's a bad secret. Let me give it to you. Here's how you develop frustration tolerance. You allow yourself to be mildly frustrated and then have a good attitude about it, and it actually strengthens you to tolerate frustration in the future, even bigger things in the future. If you can allow yourself to tolerate mild frustrations now. So go ahead, put up with it, overlook it, let it go, cover it over. And so you can even practice this, like get in that longer line at Goodwill or Target or at the grocery store, or allow yourself to drive in the slower lane and let people pass you or let somebody in. Go ahead, get frustrated, and then get better at tolerating it and coping with it. So I think we should end here for today.
Yeah.
Gaylen, take us
We've
out.
covered it all right. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can download other materials that'll help you develop skills to identify emotional problems, reduce symptoms, and prevent relapse at journeytorecovery.com. We've been visiting with Dr. Hal Baumchen, a licensed clinical psychologist and licensed alcohol and drug counselor. His expertise and clinical wisdom is now available at journeytorecovery.com. Share this resource with your peers and colleagues. I'm Gaylen Morse. Thanks for listening to today's program. See you next time on Journey to Recovery. Remember, recovery is a journey. Enjoy the ride.